You know, it really depends on what the subject matter is, but for the most part, I really like to tell my pitch in the subject line if possible. I think because the way the landscape is changing, journalists are really, really busy, and they really want a very pointed beginning, middle, and end to the story before they even open the email. So I think in general the process is really collaborative. That's sort of the environment that we foster here. So there's a lot of back and forth on written materials. But I think for phone pitching as well, it's really helpful, and this is how I really learned early in my career, it's really helpful to hear other people on the phone pitching, because you understand the fast-paced environment that you're going to get yourself into when you're getting on the phone. You're going to hear the really tough questions that journalists are likely to ask you if you actually get their attention, and you're going to hear the really impactful ways that you can position yourself on the phone when you probably only have 30 seconds. First of all, I always start with, do you have less than a minute to talk about that? I actually say, do you have less than a minute? Because they'll always say, a minute's too long. I typically get right into the story and just assume that they've never heard it before. And so within maybe 10 to 15 seconds, you have already shared with them the story, as opposed to wasting that time on saying, I was the person who reached out to you, and they can't really differentiate you between the thousands of other PR people that reach out to them. You will not be successful if you don't actually understand what you're pitching. So taking the time to really understand, whether it be a product or service announcement or something, a thought leadership campaign, you can't fake it when you're talking to a journalist or you're getting emails back from a journalist that have very pointed questions. You really have to understand your audience, so that comes with doing your research on who the journalist is that you're reaching out to, and whether they like really, really simple and very concise pitches, or if they prefer sort of a longer written story. There are many times where I reach out to journalists just to carry relationships over when I don't necessarily have a pitch in mind. I'm just saying, I read your article over the weekend and it was a really great piece, and this is why. It's really the relationships that you're able to build with them before the point of sending the pitch. I think when you demonstrate your interest in them and you really show that you respect their work, then they're more apt to get back to you on some of the story ideas that you share. It's a working relationship. We definitely need them, but they also need us.